Has just jumped into this clip. We just talked about Mario and Rabbids, so you can check out a coverage in the early segment or just previous segment. But yeah, just wanted to give some very quick thoughts for what I think was actually a pretty good presentation from Ubisoft. I watched it live, and suddenly when they started with Rainbow Six, which I'm not a big Rainbow Six fan, even though I did play the original game and everything, but I'm just like, oh, this is going to be long because it's very early in the morning. But they kept it interesting. So my quick thoughts were, Rainbow Six Quarantine, they finally, really unveiled that. Looks all right. Honestly, not my thing, but it's, I think it's going to be probably quite popular if Siege is anything to go by. Rocksmith Plus looks really, really neat. So what I played of the very first Rocksmith was really, really good fun. They've essentially dropped the chord input for an app, like a Shazam style, where it's actually picking it up, which I think is a really great way to lower the barrier for entry. Obviously, you still need a guitar, so there's always going to be that barrier, but you don't have to shell out for the actual connector.
But just on that, I think, because I saw this Rocksmith Plus, and like I have a background. I'm terrible at guitar now, but I used to play guitar, and I love guitar. And I looked at this, and I think the whole, being able to provide the input without barriers and making it really, really easy I actually agree with them. I think it's a bit of a game changer for it. Rocksmith itself was really, really cool, but those friction points can be quite annoying. It's a bit like VR. Like the more friction points, the more annoying it is. And I kind of wonder if something like this isn't going to replicate a Oculus Quest 2 where you remove barriers, you remove annoyance in the process, and you get a big uptake in what people are doing with it. I think it looks awesome. I actually almost definitely will check it out when it comes out because it looks awesome. It looks really, really cool.
So, Riders Republic, honestly, much better showing for this game than any time before. They showed off a great chunk of gameplay across a lot of modes.
It looks sick.
And they really dialed back the ridiculous over-the-top presentation that's still obviously in the game, but they didn't go full-on ham with it like they did in the initial trailer. And I think that a lot of people are now actually looking at the gameplay and saying, hey, some of that stuff actually looks really, really neat.
Looks amazing.
So
I'm actually looking forward to this one.
So I think they've made up a lot of ground with that. And I mean, that game was originally meant to have been out by now. So it turned out to be the best decision to delay it. It really did.
Just before we move on, sorry, Swinny, I know we want to whip through these, but I think that's got to be in the running and currently the greatest turnaround on any game, because I 100% agree. I think the trailer looked so much better, and the focus on the gameplay being more arcadey and fun, but the trailer, the way they presented it, was a bit cleaner. Just it went from being there's zero chance I'd look at this to I might pick up this if other people are.
Yeah, and we had a couple of other highlights I want to touch on. So Far Cry 6, we didn't really cover the proper full gameplay reveal the previous week, but they announced some of the coolest DLC I've ever actually seen. So they essentially, for the Season Pass, they've got DLC where you're playing as the villains from Far Cry 3, 4, and 5, so Vars, Pagan, and Joseph Seed, which is just such a cool approach.
A really cool idea.
And it's gone all crazy, it's over the top, like hallucinations and stuff, which is a Far Cry staple at this point. And also they announced that the Season Pass will include a version of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. And they did go a bit into more detail with that on sites like IGN and stuff, but it seems like it's just an enhanced version of that original Blood Dragon game.
Before we get to the actual final one, are you not going to mention Valhalla?
Oh, I'm just touching on some bigger stuff here. So
no, it's just that because we didn't know about that. There's going to be a year 2.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the fact that they previously that there were some files that they found that were for new areas in the mythological side, which is what they announced in the show. So,
in Paris,
but the last one, and probably, I'd say the biggest announcement, although we already knew about this game. So after 4 years, we've finally seen what Ubisoft Massive's been working on for Avatar. So Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, it was a cinematic trailer, but it's very clear that it's, based off their work in the Division, it's it's going to be an open world action game. It seems like, so you'd have to make that assumption. But look, honestly, I thought this looked cool. I'm not an Avatar hater. I'm not a super fan of Avatar, but I think they've had a shot of making Avatar games in the past, and I think it makes sense to tie in with the sequels that should be on the horizon very soon. So,
Like,
Can I just
go on,
so
Mike.
just before we move on, before we forget, just a small correction so we don't have to correct ourselves next week. I think it was Rainbow Six Extraction.
oh, did I say
Quarantine.
quarantine? Sorry.
Yeah, true. Good call.
Yeah,
good call.
yeah.
Okay, I just
Correct,
remembered. I'm
correct,
like,
So I mean,
have to
like,
correct next week.
I know that you're saying it's like already been sort of announced, but it is pretty insane, this situation, right? Like with Avatar. Like I know that like it's almost like Avatar itself. It's a film that came out in 2009. You know, it's back to being the number one grossing film of all time because they released it in China, and it's now bumped past the Avenger films. And I'll just give you a quick quiz. I think Jack's Films always does this quiz. So it's not me creating it, but I want to ask you guys, do you know the name of the protagonist of Avatar?
No.
Like, how insane is that? This is the biggest film of all time from a grossing perspective.
Jake.
Yes. Yeah, okay, you're cheating.
But also,
How am
it's
I
a
cheating?
Oh,
I don't
you
even have
haven't?
anything
I thought you looked it up
open.
on Google. Wait.
No.
it's Jake. It is Jake. The first name's Jake.
I made it up. I probably just like vaguely remembered it from when I watched it. Honestly, I didn't know that. I just put a name out there.
I just wanted to sit in the pocket on this
Wow.
one a little bit because it's insane to me. It's like James Cameron, who like I love him as a writer and a director. He's made so many films I absolutely love. Avatar probably being the least of all of
Yeah,
them.
same.
But it's like I kind of have just taken it for granted that Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 are never coming out. But I'm starting to get a sense like they are actually going to come out. Like the fact that they've announced this game, it's kind of mind-boggling to me.
Oh,
potentially,
there's been a lot of updates around the next Avatar movie even the last 12 months. So
I know, but you know that's been happening for the last 10 years, right? Like they're talking about filming four of them back to back and they dropped doing that. And they
But there's
filmed
been,
some
like,
of it like
very
4 years ago.
but there's been like a lot more of it in recent times. So
Yeah.
I think it's very close to probably that being realized. Obviously, there's so much post-production involved in that. But so this, they say it's coming out in 2022 next year. But the interesting part for me is the fact that Ubisoft Massive are now working on both an Avatar game and a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I was going to say the
I thought you
same.
were going to say in a Smurfs game.
How
Because I always thought
insane.
Avatar was modern Smurfs.
How insane. Ubisoft Massive are working on like the number one grossing film of all time, and then maybe number 4th grossing film of all time. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Anyway.
even know Ubisoft Massive that well. I know they do like the Division and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
why? Why are they working on this?
I don't know. But yeah, look, there were some highlights. I think, it was a good showing overall.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good from Ubisoft.
Yeah,
I think
a lot of good
I know
stuff.
this Avatar thing's blown my mind. You know, they've dated the Avatar 2 for next year, the end of the year.
Okay.
So maybe it's going to come out around the same
Bring
time.
back the
Coincide
Smurfs.
it. Yeah,
Space
pretty
Smurfs.
insane. All right, let's keep moving. Let's move on to the next one. We've got Xbox and xCloud news. So I kind of think it's weird